Good morning. How are you doing this morning? I'm here with Bob Ross. Can you see my Bob Ross mug? So today I thought I would come before I start my work day and hang out with you for a minute. We're going to do a quick Inkscape tutorial. Who has downloaded Inkscape? Inkscape is a free vectorizing software. There are so many ways you can implement Inkscape into your crafting world. And so if you haven't checked out Inkscape, maybe today's video will give you some ideas of what the software does. And today's video is a little bit of a beginner's tutorial and introduction into Inkscape. So today we are live here on Facebook on my Capen Quilts business page. So glad you're here. If you're here, say hello. I will be sharing this video over on my YouTube channel as well because I think this is going to be some really helpful information for a lot of people. And so if you're watching on YouTube, I'm so glad you're here. If you have questions on YouTube, jump down to the comment section and we will try to help you with your questions. And just know that we're not live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. So grab your coffee. It is early in the morning. Hello, Susie. How are you? So let's talk about Inkscape for a minute. If you've never heard of it, or maybe you've seen one of my tutorials on YouTube, I've just recently started sharing and teaching a little bit about Inkscape and some of the things that you can do with it. Let's see. Let's say you're making a quilt and you want to add photographs to your quilt. You can use Inkscape. Let's say you're making a quilt label and you want to print out a sediment or print out the quilt information on fabric. You can use Inkscape. Let's say you want to make a card with scrapbooking paper or cardstock. You can use Inkscape and your cutting machine. Let's say you want to make some applique and cut words out of fabric with your cutting machine. You can use Inkscape. So there's all different kinds of ways and uses for Inkscape. I'm going to make sure that we are up and live on my Capen Quilts page on Facebook. As we get started today, I have to scroll through lots of stuff. There we are. Okay, so hello, Belle. Good morning. If you have questions about Inkscape, go ahead and ask them. If you're live here on Facebook, maybe I can answer your question, and maybe I'll have to make a whole nother video about your question and that topic, but we'll see what we can do. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Dee says she's putting photos on a Snuggie today. Not looking forward to it. It can be very daunting. And let me just say, Inkscape, if you're totally new to it, there seems to be a huge learning curve. Okay, I've worked with Inkscape for like 9 or 10 years. So I can just whip through it. There's still stuff that I'm learning about, but I've gotten pretty proficient at using Inkscape for a lot of different things. And so, Dee, I'm not sure if you watched my video printing photos on fabric with the Inkscape and how to crop them and everything. I've had several people ask me questions because some of the default settings in Inkscape can be confusing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the fill and stroke settings, and then I'm going to also show you how you can add text. Pardon me, I'm working with my morning voice. This is the most I've talked all morning, so adding text to fabric, creating text SVGs for your cutting machine to cut paper or heat transfer vinyl or fabric. So those are the things that we're going to cover. What you see on the screen, I'm going to show you some of those things today. I'm going to be sharing my screen, and so I'm going to be moving some things around. Good morning, Shirley. How are you? And so now as we jump into the tutorial, just know that I see your comments scrolling through on my cell phone, but if I miss your comment, Just know that I am not ignoring you, but I have to stay focused because I want to show you this stuff and I don't want to forget. So now you should be seeing my screen, and it's going to look a little bit funny as I open up Inkscape. Now, if you don't have, pardon me, I'm so sorry. If you don't have Inkscape and this is something that you would be interested in learning about and downloading and using, implementing into your crafting world, I think I've shared a link in the description, but if you Google Inkscape or go to inkscape.org, I think it is. It's a free download, free software for you to use. Now I have Inkscape up on the screen, and this is what it looks like when you open it up. The very first thing that I like to do when I'm starting to work on a new document or a new project is I go right up here to File. I'm going to go down to Document Properties. A new box opens up. And we are going to change our page size to US letter. That's 8.5 by 11. So let's just do that and get that done. And we know our document is going to be the right size. So now we're working with our page. Here's our page on the screen. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the fill and stroke settings with Inkscape, because in my previous tutorial I showed how you can crop using this option right on your left toolbar, the Create Rectangles and Squares. As a default, when you create a shape, it's going to be filled. It's going to be solid black. That makes it really hard if you've brought in a photo and you want to crop your photo according to the size of the shape that you've created, right? So there's two different ways that you can access the settings for the Create Shape. You can come down to the bottom left-hand screen right here where you see my cursor, and you can click Fill and Stroke. That's going to open up a menu box that you see right on the top right-hand screen. I want to show you one other way that you can access this. If you go to the top of your screen and you select Object, that's going to also open up a menu, and you can go to Fill and Stroke, and that also opens up the settings. Okay? Now with this box, maybe I should have waited till a little bit later in the day. With this box, you have all kinds of options that you can choose from. Your box is filled currently solid with a solid color, and you can change that color with all of these different colors you see down here at the bottom of the screen, just like I'm doing here, and there's all of these different colors to choose from. Tons and tons of colors, right? But if you want your box just to be a square that's empty, that you can see through, we're going to go up here to the Fill section, and there's 3 tabs right here. You have Fill, Stroke Paint, and Stroke Style. To empty your box, right here there's an X that says No Paint. Right next to it is Flat Color that fills your entire box completely. You can do gradients, you can do patterns, you can do all kinds of stuff, but we're just going to keep it simple today. And we're going to do with a solid fill or an empty box, okay? If you want an empty box, click the X. That's going to remove all of the fill inside your box. What you might also notice is now it looks like it has completely disappeared, but it's still there. We need to add the stroke outline to our box, okay? So we're going to go over to the tab that says Stroke Paint. Right now, currently, it is turned off. We're going to fill that with a solid color, and there is our box. Now we have our box that we can see through and crop our photos, for instance. Let's say that you want to cut out a bunch of squares out of fabric for some applique. Or maybe you're creating a card and you're going to cut out these boxes with cardstock. You can create all different shapes and sizes with the objects on the side menu. You've got squares and rectangles, you've got circles, you've got polygons and stars. There's so much you can investigate. But if you open up your Inkscape and you're getting a solid box and you want to clear out that color, open up your fill and stroke settings, and this is how you do it. We can put some color back in there. We can remove the color out. We can remove that outline, or we can add the outline back in there. The stroke style box, the tab for the stroke style, you can increase the size of your outline. You can make it wider, or you can make it so that it's just barely there. You can also change it from a solid line to a dotted line, dashes, all different kinds of dashes. So yes, there's so many different possibilities and ways that you could do that. Let's say you're making a quilt label and you want it to look like it's got little stitches, and you're going to print this on fabric, right? Wouldn't this be cute? Go over to dashes and make them a little bit, something like that. Print that out on fabric, put your text inside, and print that on fabric, and there's your quilt label, right? So let's say you're doing that. Let's say we're making a quilt label, and here's your little box that looks like stitches, and now you want to add some text. Let's go over some text options, because you can do that with Inkscape. Over here on the left menu, right here we have create and edit text objects. We're going to click on that, and then anywhere on your screen, click, and you can start typing. By default, it's going to use the last font that you used in Inkscape. That's a little annoying. So there's my crazy hello. You can, while your object is selected, go back to create and edit text, and you can change your font to any font that you have loaded onto your computer. Let's get a little crazy today. I say crazy, not that crazy. Let's see, let's find something fun. Scrolling through. There, let's do that. Let me take a sip of this water because my voice is messed up this morning. All right, here's your text on the screen. There's so many different things that you can do to manipulate your text. While your object is selected, you'll notice up here on this top menu that there's all these different settings and boxes that you can check right up here. Let's say you want to decrease the space between your letters. Right here is the option, and if you hover over it, it pops up and says spacing between letters. You can increase or decrease that spacing. Let's bring our letters a little bit closer. And I'm just clicking on the little arrow and decreasing that space. I'll click on my word again, and we'll just move it inside of our little fabric quilt label. and then we can resize that. My computer's being a little bit crazy this morning. I don't know what that is. So there's our letter. Let's see, let's move this and see if that goes away. There we go. My computer doesn't want to work. It's still trying to wake up this morning too. So there's our quilt label. If you select your text, and this is going into a little bit past beginner, there's all different ways that you can manipulate your text. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my text option, or sorry, right next to it, path, the path menu. This first box, object path, I'm going to go ahead and select that. My voice is going away. Now that we've done that, do you know what we just did? We created an SVG. We've taken our font and we've created paths around it. So if you wanted to cut this out of fabric or cardstock or heat transfer vinyl, you can simply do object to path, and now you have an SVG out of your text, okay? With this selected, I'm going to right click on my mouse and I'm going to hit ungroup. Now each one of these letters are independent objects, and now we can get really creative and like increase the size of the H. We can move the E over here. And now look what we have. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. So they're independent objects, and they have a stroke that is considered an SVG, and you can send this to your cutting machine and cut it out of fabric and cardstock and heat transfer vinyl if you're making a shirt or something else with heat transfer vinyl. Now you have an SVG. So let's talk about a couple different things and ways that you can save this. If you're printing on fabric or you're printing on cardstock, whatever you're printing, you want to print this out. Let's go up to File, Save As, and a menu pops up. Now you're going to figure out where you want to save this. Let's call it the Hello label. And save as type right here. All of these different objects. Let's say we want to print this. I'm going to save it as a PDF. I'm going to hit save. This new box pops up. I do not change any of these settings and I hit OK. Now I can go to my desktop, open up this PDF and print this on fabric, cardstock, regular paper, whatever you want to print this on. Now let's say that you want to cut this out of vinyl. I'm going to select my box and make sure that that's a path, right? Object to path. We've already changed our letters from just normal text to an SVG with a path. Let's go back up to File, Save As. We'll call it Hello Label again. And this time we're going to select plain SVG. We will save that. And there you go. So let's take a look at what this is going to look like. Okay, if this works okay. Yeah, we'll close without saving because we're done. Right here on my desktop is my Hello label that we can print. It's a PDF document now. Let's reduce the size of that so we can see what our page looks like. Here's my PDF. I can now print out however many quilt labels that I want to. And there's my label all ready to go, saved on my computer. And yes, unlimited quilt labels. You could put all kinds of information in your quilt label, right? So there's printing on fabric or cardstock with your PDF. Let's go to, and hopefully this won't slow down my streaming. Let's go into Canvas Brother Workspace. Of course, if you're using like a Silhouette or Cricut and all those, you would open up your software for your cutting machine. If this shows my password, I'll have to change it right after this live. Oh no, okay, good. Hopefully that's the right password for the right software. Yes, it is. Okay, we can do new project. And it's going to take a second. Take a sip of my Bob Ross. We can go right up here to SVG. We're going to find it on the desktop. Desktop, where are you? Here we go. And there is my SVG label, and I can cut this out of fabric. I can cut this out of cardstock and pattern paper and heat transfer vinyl and regular vinyl to put it on a tumbler, whatever you want to do. That's how you can create text, an SVG text for your cutting machines. So yes, I hope that was helpful. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and close this. I'll open up Inkscape again, and I'll scroll through the comments if I can see them. And if you have any questions about Inkscape, maybe we can answer those while we're live. And if not, if you catch this on the replay, you can ask them in the comment section or go to YouTube and comment in the comment section. Terry says she is camping. Have fun camping. Let's see. I don't know why my phone is being so snippety here in the last 2 days with the comments on the videos. But I'm having a hard time seeing them. Let's go over to while you're still on my screen. There we go. Hi, Kathleen. Belle, you have a scan and cut that's still in the box. Girlfriend, it's time to break out that scan and cut. We're going to go into the new year, and I want you to learn how to use it. And there's so many tutorials out there that can walk you step by step on how to do that. So I'm going to encourage you in the new year to unbox that machine. Let's create something. What is the benefit of using Inkscape over creating files in Silhouette or Cricut? I wish I could really answer this question, Dawn, with a lot of knowledge, but I've never used the software for the Silhouette or Cricut. I have a Brother Scan and Cut, and so just a few minutes ago I had the Brother Canvas Workspace open, and that's the operating software for the Brother Scan and Cut. Very simple to use, and it does just about the same kind of stuff. I don't know the software or the operating software for the Cricut or the Silhouette, so I don't really know what it does. One of the things that maybe could be a benefit in downloading Inkscape is that you can create PDFs with it and create tracing templates for applique. You could print photos and text on fabric. Maybe that's a benefit of using Inkscape versus the Silhouette software. I don't know what that does. So I know my screen looks a little crazy right this second. But maybe that's a benefit. I'm not sure. I do know there's tons of tutorials. I've seen them on the operating software for Cricut and Silhouette. I just tend not to watch a lot of them because it doesn't really apply to my machine. And if I'm going to spend time watching a tutorial, I would like it to be on the software that I'm using, like Canvas Brother Workspace, so that I can apply the knowledge to my machine. However, there's lots of tutorials out there for those machines as well. I would say the benefit would be that you could create PDFs with it and print on fabric. More than likely, I'm thinking that you could do text and all that fun stuff in your software for the Cricut. I know you can in Brother Canvas Workspace too. I'm just in Inkscape by default. That's what I learned how to use years ago, before the Cricut was ever even invented, or the Brother Scan and Cut. I used to cut vinyl and stencils out of a great big vinyl cutter, and I learned how to do that using Inkscape. And so that's just what I'm familiar with. And then all of the different things that you can do with that. Did you know that, well, you might be able to do it too in your software, but you can like trace bitmaps and create your own SVGs with Inkscape. You can do that. I'm thinking that's all of the Inkscape questions that we have. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time this morning. Let's move this off the screen because this looks crazy. So here's Inkscape. Yes, there's so many things that I could show you what Inkscape does, but I want to keep this tutorial like really beginner friendly. We'll do, let's create a circle. Always keep in mind that Inkscape remembers the last feature that you used and will implement that into your new objects. So here's a circle. It's going to automatically put a dotted line with no fill because that's what we used last. In the fill and stroke option, we can change that stroke right here to a, whoops, right here to a solid line if we wanted to. Let's get really crazy and increase the width on that stroke. So there's a circle. Now let's say we want to fill this circle with a color. We can change it from the X, no paint, to a solid fill that is yellow. Now here's something really fun, is that you can change the opacity of your object and make it see-through. So if you have two of them, let's make this one red and not see-through. You can layer them and you can see you cannot see through the red one, but the yellow one, let's hit page up and move that to the top. You can see through the yellow one. Just something fun, just sharing little tidbits of some tips. But yes, there's so much you can do with this. You can fill this with a pattern. Let's look at doing that. have the red circle selected, and in the fill and stroke menu, I'm in the fill tab. Let's go right here, pattern. And from this menu, we have all kinds of default patterns like polka dots. Those are tiny. Let's see, wavy lines. Let's really zoom in. You can see that. That's filled with wavy lines now. So yes. And SVG wise, filling might be something you want to do, might not be something you want to do. However, if you're creating patterns, or you're creating an image that you want to print on fabric, then that is another feature that you can investigate and play around with. So yes, that is fill and stroke settings in Inkscape, and also a little bit about adding text to your document if you want to print text on fabric, or maybe even send it over to your cutting machine. So yes, I think that's everything I wanted to share. If you happen to catch this on the replay and you have questions, ask them in the comment section and we'll try to help. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Ask your questions down in the comment section. So yes, I think that's everything. I have a super busy day today, and we're approaching Thanksgiving and preparing, and I got to go run out and grab some groceries for that, and finish cutting out the last blocks of my t-shirt quilt. So I hope you have a fantastic day. If you're on the Creative Crew group, we'll see you tonight in the live. And if I missed your question, I deeply apologize. My phone's being persnickety with the comments, and so I can't see them so much. Have a fantastic day, everybody. We'll see you later this evening. Make sure that if you want to share your pictures or comments or topics in tonight's Creative Crew Live, go over there and post in the announcement for today. Have a fantastic day. Have fun creating. Download free Inkscape and play around. Bye, everybody.